guys, and welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today we are doing 10 things to avoid on a first date. Okay, and let's get on with the video. For number one, this is having expectations. When you go into a date, you really don't know what to expect, and you shouldn't assume that it's going to go badly or it's going to go well. You shouldn't assume you're going to be nervous. Like, making assumptions and expectations is going to be the downfall of the date. Like, if you expect him to pay, well, you shouldn't really. Modern day society norms suggest that we do 50-50. But obviously, like, those sort of expectations you need to, like, clear out of your head, because, like, you need to be prepared in case you're wrong. And honestly, like, having expectations can always lead to the date ending badly. So, try to avoid that. Number two, this is wearing strong deodorant perfume. Now, obviously, personal hygiene is key, but if you're wearing too much of, like, your spray or your deodorant, it's just going to be overwhelming, because they're going to have to smell that all through the night. If they go to hug you, you're going to reek of it. And honestly, when you spray a hell of a lot, it suggests that you're trying to hide something. You may not, but it does suggest it. So you may go, oh, have they forgotten to shower today? Or why do they need so much on? Are they a heavy smoker, etc.? So obviously, like, keep it to a minimum, okay guys? And then 3 is trying too hard. Now, you've got to try, obviously. First impressions matter the most. But if you're obviously, like, showing off, that's gonna subtract a few brownie points there, guys. Like, oh cool, like, you do this, great. Oh, you were top of your class in school, that's great. But obviously, when you're just throwing out, like, oh, I'm the best at this, it's like, okay, bit of a show off, clearly trying a lot. And honestly, it's just like, is everything, it just makes them think, is everything a competition for you? Because obviously, if you're just talking about all the good things about yourself, it suggests you have a bit of a thing to be right. And obviously that can be a bit worrisome for some people. And number 4 is to avoid quiet spaces. These can be places like the cinema. Obviously you want quiet enough that you can talk, but you want to make sure you can talk there. So obviously you're not supposed to talk in a cinema, so ideally avoid a cinema on a first date. Unless it's like an outdoor theatre, then sometimes you can get away with talking a bit more, but obviously you've got to be aware of people around you. So try to avoid the cinemas, because that means you spend hours, well, potentially hours, sat next to each other, not talking. You hardly learn anything about her by the end of the night, or him at the end of the night, and it's just very awkward. Obviously, like, cinemas are great to start a conversation. Like, you watch a movie together, then you know you can talk about that movie. But obviously, for a first date, you kind of want to avoid that. Like, maybe on the second date it's an idea, but obviously you want to get to know each other first and see if, like, you have any things in common, like you like the same movies, or you both play video games, you like the same genre of music, etc. So that's why I say just try to avoid cinemas on your first date. And number 5 this is Checkins. Now, boys, you may not be prone to doing this, but girls, you know exactly what I'm on about. Do not spend like 3 trips to the bathroom just to check in with your friends. Like, okay, obviously it is a safety thing, but 1, you just tell someone where you are before you leave. 2, you can leave on your location on like Snapchat or just on your phone in general. And if you're really that worried, should you really be going? Just think about that. And number 3, if you're really that shy and awkward, you can always ask to do a double date. No one will like blame you for that, because obviously it's like, it's kind of hard if you're a shy person to go on a date. But obviously, like I was saying, avoid checking in with your friends every time you go to the bathroom, because sometimes they question, why is she taking so long in the bathroom? Has she gone out the window like you see in all the movies? Or does she have an upset stomach? Things like that. And obviously you want to avoid like giving that impression. So yeah. And that links with number 6, which is avoid smelly foods or things that upset your stomach. You may be wondering, what do you mean? So it's like, I know a lot of my friends really like garlic bread and pizza and all that sort of thing. But obviously, if at the end of the night you are to kiss them and you've eaten garlic bread, your breath is going to reek. So it's not exactly ideal. Unless you're both eating it, then like you both understand why. But yeah, and to avoid foods that like your stomach doesn't necessarily agree with. So if you can hear my dog snoring in the background, sorry. So some people find that they can't eat Brussels sprouts without being given wind. Well, if you know a certain food gives you wind, try to avoid it, because that may be awkward. And then there's number 7, which is also a food orientated one. And this is just eating salad. Like, I will tell you this as a fact, girls. Guys find it more attractive for a girl to eat than to be ashamed of eating. Which also goes along with number 8, which is commenting on other people's eating. If you struggle with eating, I know sometimes I can, don't say anything, obviously, like, to the other person, oh, you've barely touched your food, blah, blah, blah. Word it differently. So, like, they've barely touched their food. Go, oh, did you enjoy that? If they said yeah, okay, just leave it at that. And obviously, if they've got problems with food, they'll open up to you in the long run. But if you don't have issues with food, don't worry about eating what you want. Like, if they can't accept you for the way you eat, they aren't worth your time, honestly. And then number 9. Yes, number 9. This is talking about exes. Very awkward, very uncomfortable. Like, don't compare them to your ex. Don't really talk about the subject, because it would suggest you're still hooked up on your ex. Like, you know, if they ask when was your last relationship, you can say those sorts of things, but obviously avoid talking directly about yours or their exes. Okay? And finally, for number 10, this is drinking too much. Now, this is the worst thing anybody can do on a date. Getting flat out drunk humiliating themselves and throwing up all over the other person, or having to be escorted home. Like, that's not a great first impression, guys. Just, if you want to drink, have a few, but don't have a lot. Like, have one or two, maybe a third if you can handle your liquor, but don't drink a lot, really. Like, it's just not a great idea. It's like, beforehand, do not drink a bunch of energy drinks and think, oh yeah, I'll be great through tonight, like, I'll have great energy, I'll be hyper, I'll be interesting. You're just gonna seem like a hyped up kid, and that's not exactly ideal, is it? But yeah, those were my 10 top tips on what to avoid on a first date. And that's all for today, guys. Like, comment, subscribe, and tell me your worst date experience. Right, I will see you next time. Bye, guys.